Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Ken Bone Zone. So glad to have you here. I am Ken Bone, and of course, with me here is my best buddy in the whole wide Skype, Josh Burkett. How you doing this week, my friend?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
I could not possibly be better. The weather is nice here. Did you get like 2 feet of snow this week?
Yeah, it was that's almost not exaggerating. It was terrible.
Not quite as
But
nice
now it's
up in
warm.
the St. Paul area, from what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
But yeah, down here it's pretty nice. It's like, I don't know, 60 degrees outside. I could go out and mow the grass if I wanted to, but I have a kid
Oh,
for
you
that.
suck.
Yeah.
You have a kid that does it, and you have grass to mow.
Yep,
Jealous.
it's amazing.
That sucks.
I'm not a huge fan of having grass, just because you have to like take care of it, and it costs money, and doesn't
Yeah.
really do anything other than sit there and absorb a whole lot of water, and it's kind of bad for the environment. And hey, whatever. We could do a whole show about it. I love that phrase. We could do a whole show about blah, blah,
We could do
blah.
a whole show about it.
But instead, on today's show, we're going to talk about what everybody else is talking about, plus a whole lot more. We're going to talk about James Comey's book. We're going to talk about Supreme Court Justice Gorsuch, some unfortunate losses that we've had this week with some well-known people, and talk a little bit about Senator Duckworth and breastfeeding babies on the floor of the Senate. Stormy Daniels, of course, change of leadership in Cuba, why you should or should not boycott Starbucks, hint, you shouldn't. A little bit about Alex Jones, an update on Martin Shkreli, and then we're going to run down some Marvel movies, because holy crap, do we ever talk about politics too much. We're going to take a little break from that in the second half of the show, talk about movies with the next Avengers movie coming out.
Nice.
So first up here, we got James Comey has released his book. James Comey, if you remember, is the former director of the FBI, and he got fired from being the director of the FBI because Donald Trump said, I want you to go out and say that I'm not under investigation for Russia. And Comey said, well, you're not, but I'm not going to say that publicly, because what if someday you are? You know, based on you asking me this question, maybe I kind of think that you should be. And he's like, no, you got to say publicly that I'm not under investigation. Like, well, I'm not doing that, Mr. President. All right, then you're fired.
You're fired.
And then a couple weeks later, he said, oh, no, that's not why I fired him at all. Like, well, you said on Twitter and on television that it is why you fired him, and that seems kind of fishy. So Rod Rosenstein, who was then in charge of the FBI, appointed special counsel Robert Mueller. So, Trump, you only have yourself to blame for this whole Mueller thing, essentially. If you'd just shut up about James Comey and why you fired him, you might not have this special counsel investigation in the first place. But whatever. Now James Comey has written a book about his experience, and he called it A Higher Loyalty. The loyalty to what? I don't know. He says he wrote this book. You know, I wrote this book. I didn't do it for the money. I did it because it was the right thing to do. Like, okay, well, you know, it takes like a year to write a book and get it published. If we really needed to know all this stuff that bad, you know, maybe you could have told us a year ago, whatever. But then you don't make $1 million on a book deal, I guess.
Oh, sure. I wonder how long this book is. I mean, it doesn't seem like there could be that much content.
I don't know.
I could be wrong.
They've released excerpts from it. The book's not actually out yet, and it'll sell a bajillion copies, just like Fire and Fury did, because the only way you can get people to buy books these days is to either have them be about wizards or dragons or hating Donald Trump, because those are all three really cool things.
Ooh, that'd be a good book idea, to combine those three with wizards, dragons, and Donald Trump, like playing like the Voldemort kind of. Just be hack. It would be a hack, but it would sell.
It wouldn't matter. It would sell a million copies. Random House would be just clamoring over the rights to it. There'd be a movie deal in the works. It'd be amazing.
Yeah.
I just wish that I had met Donald Trump like personally and interacted with him more, so that I could write a tell-all book about how he's a douchebag with tiny hands or something, just so I could cash in on this too. Yeah, my window for making money off of having met famous people seems to have passed, and now I wish I could have made more out of it. Oh well, I still get to do this show. You know, my salary for this show is astronomical. It is. It's not actually fair. I make 20 times more money from doing the show than Josh does, but don't tell him.
as you do probably 50 times more work than I do, so you're still.
The joke is that neither of us get paid, kids.
But you still do a hell of a lot more work.
Oh, that might be true, but I like doing it a lot. And I'm not as busy as you are. Well, yeah. I guess we could try to attract sponsors. But this week, sponsored by Gold Bond Medicated Powder. It's like a breath mint for your dick. Stuff is magical.
It is. It's, I've never heard it. Never. That was good.
Yeah, tell Amy that next time it's hot outside and you come in from having a jog or something. You're like, I need some Gold Bond because it's like a breath mint for my junk.
For mine.
You're like, I don't love you anymore. I want a divorce.
Half full Super Bowl halftime show next year, man. The commercials. That's you.
Oh, absolutely.
New spokesperson for Gold Bond. We got a year to make it happen.
I would love that. Either Gold Bond or Mountain Dew. That could be the next Puppy Monkey Baby or whatever. I guess that was Doritos. That creepy friggin' thing.
That was, yeah.
That thing freaked me out.
Oh, it's terrible.
Anyway, so yeah, James Comey's book, it's not even technically out yet. There's excerpts from it that are circulating around where he literally talks about the size of Donald Trump's hands and says that they're not actually unusually small and just kind of weird stuff like that. There's supposedly a bunch of bombshells in it, but they certainly haven't revealed any of these bombshells yet. For right now, it's just all the same stuff that everybody's been saying for months. So maybe when it comes out for real, there'll be some more stuff in it. And it'll just turn out that they started to impress a little too early.
I love how I just went to Barnes and Noble, and people are selling the book used for $26, which is $10 more than the new, and it's not even out yet. And there's reviews. How people.
That's something I hate about online sales in general, and any place with an online store is you can leave reviews for stuff like movies that have 100% fresh on Rotten Tomatoes in theaters Friday. Like, well, nobody's seen it yet. What? Only the critics have seen it, and there's an embargo. They're not allowed to post their review on Rotten Tomatoes yet. Only the at-large public can post reviews. So only fanboys who assume it's going to be awesome are posting reviews. And then the first person that puts like a 1-star review because they're a troll gets flamed out of existence.
Right. Yeah, like 3 days ago, this person's like, I give it 5 stars regardless of its content because it'll be... And they tried to say thought-provoking, but they spelt that wrong. Both words wrong, actually. Yeah, that's great. Great job there.
They need some thoughts provoked, I guess.
Yeah, they do.
Sounds like it.
They don't have too many.
The last time I pre-ordered a book, it was by Justin Cronin. It was the 3rd book of the Passage trilogy, which is like a post-apocalyptic vampire, fantasy book. It's not exactly high literature, but they were fun reads. Me and some of my buddies at work had all read the same series. And the 3rd book got delayed for like a year because I guess he was trying to sell the movie rights, and the deal kept going back and forth with different studios and stuff. And that delayed the publishing of the last chapter, the last entry in the trilogy. And by the time it came out, it had like 5,000 reviews, and nobody had seen it yet. Like, it wasn't published, and people were like, 4 stars because it's taking too long. Like, no, please don't leave reviews. And then, of course, the day it comes out, all the reviews are like, I can't believe this character dies at the end, and you don't even get to buy the book for another 20 minutes.
Jeez. Yeah, reviews suck.
It's not worth reading online reviews. But, yeah. This Comey book is a harsh indictment on online reviews. Let's see, what else we got? Justice Gorsuch, Trump's appointee to the Supreme Court. He made he was part of a pretty important decision this week that I know our good friend Shoshana Weissman is stoked about, because Shoshana is a huge fan of both Justice Gorsuch and of the Ninth Amendment, protecting your unenumerated rights that are not mentioned in the Constitution. The Ninth Amendment says, hey, just because we don't call this right out by name and add it to the Constitution doesn't mean it's not important. So basically anything you can think of that you have a human right to that is not expressly forbidden by law is protected by the Ninth Amendment. So one of these things that should be expressly protected from or by the Constitution is unconstitutionally vague laws. So basically what this case was about was there's an illegal immigrant named James DeMaya. James DeMaya, I'm sorry, he's not an illegal immigrant. He is a legal immigrant. He is an immigrant who has had his citizenship for several years, or he's been in the United States for several years. He's been here since he was 13 years old, has totally legal status. He came from the Philippines. He was convicted of 2 counts of burglary. I guess he pled guilty to burglary. And that got him lined up for automatic deportation. Because there's a law that says you get automatically deported if you're an immigrant, even if you have legal status, if you've committed a, quote, crime of violence. So the prosecutor said, like, well, burglary is a crime of violence because while you were robbing this place, what if you had run into the homeowner? Then things would have gotten violent. And Mr. DeMaya's attorneys are like, yeah, but I didn't, though. And plus, if I would have, I wouldn't have hurt anybody. I was just stealing some stuff. And I pled guilty to it, and I'm sorry, and I'll do my time or pay my fines or whatever. And they said, nope, you're getting deported forever because you might have become violent if you got caught.
Jeez.
And so this went all the way to the Supreme Court. There was no violence involved. And Justice Gorsuch sided with the 4 more liberal justices. He sided away from the more conservative justices and said, look, this law is too vague. If you can define anything you want as a crime of violence, that's a violation of the 9th Amendment, that you should be protected from things that are too vague to be defined. And Congress, if you want to automatically deport people who plead guilty to minor crimes that involve no physical confrontation, then you need to make a better law that defines that, and we can judge that based on its own merits and see if it's constitutional. But this is not constitutional because it's too vague, and prosecutors can use it to mean anything they want. And I think that was a great decision. Like, that's the most libertarian thing I've ever heard of. Like, hey, lawmakers, if you don't want to make it expressly illegal, then we can do whatever the hell we want.
I like it.
So yeah, that made me real happy. I was kind of on the fence about Gorsuch. Like, yeah, he seemed like a decent pick. But of course, anybody on the Democrat side automatically hated him because of the pretty under-the-table, nasty way the Democrats got him confirmed by basically blocking the confirmation of Obama's nominee for like a year, which was a crappy, terrible thing to do, hoping that a Republican would win the presidency. And then Trump did win, so they got their guy in. It set a really nasty precedent for how we're going to do these things in the future.
No doubt. In other words, Justice Gorsuch, that's something you can barely say 5 times fast.
Yeah.
Justice Gorsuch. Yeah, I can't do it.
I'm getting all slobbery in my mouth trying to. Let's see, what else we got politics-wise? I'm trying to knock all the politics out right up front because I'm so tired of politics. Stormy Daniels, the porn star who was sleeping with President Trump for at least one night after watching Shark Week in the hotel room. I will not let the Shark Week aspect of this story go away. I think it's very important.
As you shouldn't.
Stormy Daniels was on The View talking about not talking expressly about her affair with Donald Trump because she's still not allowed to because of a non-disclosure agreement that she's trying to get thrown out in court, but not expressly talking about her affair with Donald Trump. And she did 2 really awesome things. She revealed a police sketch that she just made of the guy that supposedly threatened her in a parking garage or a parking lot. And you know what? I'm not going to doubt victims. You know, we're always supposed to believe victims. So I am just going to take her at her word that some shady dude said something to her in a parking lot about how she shouldn't say anything bad about President Trump. I totally believe you. But this forensic sketch that they put out just looks like every white man in the world.
To the Google.
Yeah, like if you got... a lot of people were saying it looks like Tom Brady. It kind of does. It just kind of looks like nondescript, somewhat handsome white male. Like if I had a good enough hairpiece and I lost a couple pounds, it could be me. It just, it doesn't really look... You're going to bring in a lineup and it's just going to be 10 guys that look like, yep, that's all 10 of them, sir. All 10 of them, officer, they all did it. I don't think they're going to catch anybody based on this thing.
I love if you just type in Stormy Daniels sketch and then go to just images in Google. There's so many like that do a side by side comparison with all sorts of different actors.
Amazing.
It's brilliant. Justin Timberlake, William Dafoe.
Oh yeah. Oh, it might have been Willem Dafoe. He's
Tom
weird.
Brady.
You don't know.
Yeah, like William Dafoe, like 30 years younger, maybe.
The Green Goblin. He is a
Sean Hannity.
He's crazy. Oh yeah, it could have been Hannity.
Yeah.
Hannity, who committed the terrible sin of having the same lawyer as the president.
Right.
And people are like, well, I can't believe this. Doesn't he have any journalistic integrity? And it's like, no, dumbass, he doesn't. And he's never.
No.
And when he pretends that he does, you should throw up in your mouth a little bit. He's not a journalist. He's a commentator. And when he pretends to be a journalist, you should not believe him.
Right.
So, of course, he was going to have something like this going on. And I love the moral relativists always come out when this happens. They're like, well, what would Sean Hannity have said if it was, some liberal commentator had the same lawyer as Hillary Clinton? I'm like, well, he would have said all kinds of nasty things because he is a person who says nasty things for a living.
Right.
He would have been a giant hypocrite about it. That doesn't excuse other people to have bad behavior. Sean Hannity's bad behavior does not excuse other people's bad behavior.
Yeah, I saw on Twitter the hashtag fired Hannity just tirade, and I'm thinking, wait, what? But he's been awful this whole time. Well, because now he's involved in, and I'm not seeing it.
Fire him for what? For doing something dumb? Yeah, this was dumb, and yeah, he probably should have disclosed it, but what he's doing is not illegal, and it's certainly not bad for Fox News. Other ratings will probably go up.
Right.
They're loving this.
Yeah.
It's this vast left-wing conspiracy, deep state, what the hell ever. They're out to get Sean. He's dumb, and I'll go ahead and say to you, listeners, don't watch his show, because it's stupid. It's just partisan hackery of the highest level, where he talks over all of his guests if they don't 100% agree with him. The only person he won't talk over is the great one, Mark Levin.
Yeah.
That guy's gross. But yeah, don't watch his show. That's all I can tell you. Fox isn't going to fire him, and I don't think they should fire him for this. But hey, whatever. Yeah. The other great thing that Stormy Daniels said on The View, she said, "This is not what I want to be known for." Talking about the sex scandal with Donald Trump. Like, this is not what you want to be known for. Then, okay, that's where I got to take some issue with you, Stormy. That why are you going on television and talking about it?
Right.
Like, that would be like me coming out and saying, like, you know what, the red sweater and the debate and politics, that's not what I want to be known for. I want to launch a singing career. Well, people will be like, shut the hell up. You stupid. This is your thing. You keep going on TV and talking about your thing. I mean, I go on TV and radio still on a pretty regular basis talking about my thing. If I go on and be like, oh, no, I don't want to talk about the presidential debate. I don't want to talk about the mustache and the sweater. They'd be like, okay, well, get the hell off the show. We're going to edit you out.
Right.
If you don't want to talk about the thing that it brings relevance to the conversation, then we don't want to talk to you. So, Stormy, if this is not what you want to be known for, I don't know what to tell you.
Maybe go back to your birth name, because I'm pretty sure Stormy Daniels is not your... I mean, I have known one Stormy, like, for real, but something tells me that's not your actual name if you don't want to be known for being a porn star.
Yeah. Well, no, she's saying she doesn't want to be known for banging President Trump. She does want to be known for being a porn star and a stripper.
Oh,
the more noble professions. But no, Stormy Daniels isn't her real name.
Okay.
Her real name is Stephanie something.
Ah.
But I also know a person named Stormy.
Yeah.
That's her real name. Little side note. Window into my personal life.
Is it a real name?
Yeah, her name is Stormy Collins, and her name is Stormy Dean now because she's married. She is my little lesbian cousin who got married last year.
Stormy Dean, not my love.
Yeah.
Sorry.
She's a cool kid. She's young. She's like 19. Good kid. And her wife is cool too, Rachel. If you guys are watching Hi.
Hi.
I don't know if you watch the show. I don't know if you know if the show exists. We didn't talk about it last time I saw you. Let's see what else we got. We gotta tear through the politics. Ooh, did you know that as of yesterday, Raul Castro, the son of Fidel Castro, is no longer the president of Cuba. There is a new president of Cuba. His name is Miguel Diaz-Canel. So he is going to take over the presidency of Cuba. He does say that he is going to, quote, defend the socialist revolution. I don't know if it's much of a revolution anymore. It was 60 years ago. And I'm not sure that it's worth defending, since it's essentially a socialist dictatorship that has, really stepped on the rights of its people for the last 6 decades. But hey, what are you going to do? This is the first time, Miguel is 57 years old, and this is the first time in his lifetime that somebody has been president whose name was not Castro. Either Fidel or Raul has been in charge of Cuba for this guy's entire life, and now he's taking over. But Castro fans, don't be too let down. Raul is going to remain the head of the Communist Party, so even though President Diaz-Canel is in charge of, or is the president by name, Raul Castro will remain the actual power in Cuba, as the head of the party is actually more powerful.
Interesting.
Well, Cuba is a single party system. Like, we have a 2-party system and we hate it because it's, 2 extremes and 2 sides of the same coin and nothing in the middle. Cuba has it worse. They only have 1 party. They have the Communist Party, and then the opposition party is basically run by the Communist Party. It's only there for show.
I bet I mean, on the bright side, which there's not really much bright side, but I bet there's not a lot of political tack ads that you have to listen to and watch during election seasons.
No, you only have to
Would be my take.
The first time you hear an attack ad against Castro is also the last time you hear it.
Right.
Because then they take the person that ran the ad and also you for having heard it and throw you off a balcony.
Yeah.
Yeah. Still might be better than having to listen to political ads. So yeah, congratulations, Cuba. Everything old is new again. And you basically got the same bullcrap. Let's see. Oh, Alex Jones. This one's hot off the presses. I only saw it about a half an hour ago. Alex Jones, the stupid hack, who, if you want to make Sean Hannity look good, compare him to Alex Jones. Alex Jones is the super right-wing conspiracy theorist guy that runs InfoWars. And just to show you how little justice there is in the world, folks, the Ken Bone Zone has about 500 listeners to 1,000, somewhere in that range, depending on the week. And Alex Jones has several million. So let that sink in, folks. So Alex Jones is a gross conspiracy theorist, and one of his big conspiracy theories that he's been throwing out there for years now is that Sandy Hook didn't actually happen. The Sandy Hook massacre at the grade school in Connecticut, where like a dozen little kids were shot and killed by a crazy person. He says it didn't happen, and that all the bodies were fake, all the pictures were fake, and all the people that were family members who were, mourners at funerals and on the news, and even years later, they're all actors. It's all a vast conspiracy by the anti-gun lobby to pretend that there was a massacre of little kids. And so now the parents of the murdered school children have gotten together and filed a defamation lawsuit against Alex Jones. And in response, he did the stupidest thing he could possibly do. His only real defense against this defamation lawsuit would have been to go in court and say, no, I honestly believe this. I really am mentally deficient, and I really do believe that this is one of the great conspiracies in the history of mankind, that all these people are pretending to have slaughtered children 7 years later. They're still pretending. They're still keeping up this facade. Instead, he said, no, Sandy Hook did actually happen. That was just a thing I said on my show. Well, you just admitted to defamation, dumbass. You just admitted to exactly what you're being sued for. What an idiot.
The one point in life where that you're crazy will benefit you and he could have won easily because he believes in the weirdest psychic vampires and things
Oh,
like
yeah.
that. Yep, you're right.
He
You're
is
crazy.
definitely one of those like lizard people from the center of the earth run the Vatican. You know, that kind of crap. He's definitely unhinged. On his show the other day, he was crying, like crying when Trump attacked Syria. The coalition forces attacked Syria along with the U.S. to try to take out some of the chemical weapons capacity, which is kind of what we predicted on last week's show would happen. When that happened, Alex Jones went on the air that night and cried about how Trump was betraying us and betraying our conservative values. And I think the way he put it was that Trump is basically ISIS's butt buddy. That was the term that he used.
Wow.
I haven't heard the term butt buddy since we were in high school.
No doubt.
I'm not a fan of the term, but in this context, it was quite hilarious. And tears were streaming down his face. The guy has definitely come off his nut a little bit.
Yeah, some people think it's like an act, but I honestly think he's unhinged.
Yeah,
there's YouTube videos. I love it where, like, little excerpts where he goes on rants, but somebody has put the X-Files theme song in the background. It's brilliant. It just gives it a whole new context.
I think it might have started as an act. But he got too deep down the rabbit hole. Like, he got too deep into playing himself as a character, and it got in his head.
Could be.
That's my working theory anyway. Like, if you just say something yourself over and over and over again long enough, and you don't allow yourself to acknowledge anything else in public, it just, like, seeps into your soul.
That's fair. That makes sense.
So, yeah. Let's see. Only one other political story, and it doesn't make me want to murder anything. Senator Duckworth, who we've talked about before, my senator here in Illinois, Tammy Duckworth, she had her baby last week, the first senator ever to give birth while in office. So congratulations, Senator Duckworth, on the birth of your healthy baby. And the Senate Rules Committee has allowed a change in the rules, so now senators can take their children under 1 year old onto the Senate floor with them. So she's not taking maternity leave. We talked a couple weeks ago about, was she going to take paternity leave? Can you really step away from public service? You know, how do you balance that with family life? It's got to be a very tough decision. So she's decided she's going to stay at her place in Washington instead of coming back to Illinois. She's not going to participate in day-to-day activities at the Senate, but she's going to be available for emergency votes or any other kind of, like, national crisis. She'll be available at any time, especially with this rule change that has now made it okay for her to bring her baby with her. Like, if we have to call upon her to come and vote on something super important at 2 a.m. on a Saturday, and she can't get childcare for the little one, she can just bring it on with her. Or if she has to be there for a 12-hour debate session on something really, really critical, she can bring the baby with her, and she can even breastfeed it when it's needed. I think it's an important thing. It sets an important example for how professional women should be treated in the workplace, like allowing them to still carry out their duties and still further their career while also starting and fostering a family. So, I think it's overall a good thing, and it's a very bipartisan thing. Nobody seemed to have a problem with it, or at least if they do, they were smart enough not to say so and kill themselves with women voters. So
right.
So good for Senator Duckworth. This was a smart compromise on her part and on the part of the Rules Committee, and I wish her and her family all the best. Let's see, last couple of news stories here before we're totally done with the news. We have one that makes me extremely happy. A little schadenfreude, a little bit that I allow myself. Pharma bro Martin Shkreli. Pharma bro, you'll remember, got convicted of securities fraud, and he's going to prison for a not insignificant amount of time. Well, he wanted to go to a minimum security camp, or a prisoner's camp, one of those white-collar places where it's not a resort, but it's not real prison. It's like, you can't go home, It's not that big a deal. Well, the judge denied that and said, no, due to the magnitude of your crimes and due to your potential flight risk and attitude, you're going to regular federal prison in New Jersey. So he's gonna go to federal prison just like everybody else. And,
as you should.
Yeah, although I'm not a huge fan of the way that we run the prison complex here in the U.S., and I think it definitely needs to be reformed, I do like seeing even rich people with a lot of influence getting treated like everyone else.
Yeah.
So that's an important first step.
Yep.
And also, Martin Shkreli's a douchebag, and I'm okay with him going to a crappy prison.
We are so in sync on that one.
Oh, yeah, totally. Let's see, very last news story. This was a big one. Starbucks. Are we boycotting Starbucks or are we not boycotting Starbucks? So last week, there were two African-American fellas in a Starbucks in, I think it was Philly, and they're waiting for their friend to show up. Or no, I'm sorry, it wasn't a friend. It was a potential business partner. It was a white guy who is a real estate salesman who was looking to do a deal with these guys. I guess they're entrepreneurs or run a business of some kind. Well, they get there, and just a few minutes after they get there, the manager comes up to their table and is like, "Hey, are you gonna buy anything?" And they're like, "Well, we're waiting for our friend." And he's okay. And then one of them asks to use the restroom, and the manager's like, "Well, you didn't buy anything, so you can't." The guy's like, "Come on, I gotta go to the bathroom. We're having our meeting here. I'm sure somebody's gonna buy some coffee at some point or what." I don't know how that conversation went, but it sure seems like he didn't get belligerent or anything. He was just like, "Come on, I gotta pee, and my friend's gonna be here, and we don't want to order anything because not everybody's here. We'll be out of your hair in no time. You know, there's people in here sitting for 12 hours pretending they're writing a screenplay, for God's sake.
Right.
And you have to order in one $6 espresso. Please let me go to the bathroom." And they're like, "No." Okay, fine. He goes back to his table. That manager who told him no calls the cops. The cops show up, and they're like, "Hey, the manager says you have to leave." And he's like, "Well, then do anything. I'm not leaving." The cops say, "Well, if you don't leave, we got to arrest you." The guy's like, "That's dumb. I'm not leaving." I said, "Okay, well, you're under arrest." And they arrested these two guys, walked them out in handcuffs. And as they were walking them out, here comes the guy they were meeting, because, of course, they were telling the truth the whole time. You know, I don't think anybody even really doubted that. But here comes the guy they were meeting, and the guy they were meeting starts asking the cops, like, "What the hell are you doing? You're dragging away my potential clients here," or whatever. "What did they do?" And then other people in the restaurant start saying, "They didn't do anything." I don't blame the cops here. When the police officers get called out to a private business and the manager says, "Hey, these two guys are trespassing and they refuse to leave. I want you to get rid of them." And the guys say, "Well, we shouldn't have to leave." Well, the cops, I think, did what they had to do. I don't think they needed to cuff them, but that's probably protocol or something, for their PD. If you're going to put somebody in the back of the car, you got to cuff them. So, fine. They did what they had to do. They didn't rough them up or anything. One thing I wish they had done better is they got them back to the station. They didn't end up releasing them until after midnight, when Starbucks made it clear that they were not going to press trespassing charges on these guys. So, like, yeah, getting picked up and run downtown would suck, but you could kind of live with it. Being there until after midnight, that, I think, definitely made the cross, and from just being a really crappy thing to being completely unacceptable.
Right.
But I still don't blame the police. It was the slow wheels of Starbucks, getting whoever's in charge to contact the police and said, "No, of course we're not going to prosecute these guys for trespassing. That's ridiculous. The manager shouldn't have called the police." Well, Starbucks has apologized. The CEO has met with these two guys. It was just a crappy situation all around. But now you got people saying, like, "Oh, we should boycott Starbucks because Starbucks is racist." Well, thank you. My wife just brought me some more beer. Starbucks is not racist. Starbucks is a company that wants to sell coffee, and they don't care what color you are. They will sell you coffee. They don't care if you are a dog. If you have a credit card as a dog, if you are Santa's little helper from The Simpsons with a valid credit card from that one episode, they will sell you coffee. They don't care.
Right.
As a corporation, they don't care. Very few corporations are racist. Corporations only exist to sell stuff. Starbucks, as a corporation, is not racist. This person that called the cops, I like to give everybody the benefit of the doubt when I can. I'm going to assume that she was just having a crappy day. She had a migraine, or she backed over her trash cans on the way to work, and her kids were yelling at her, or just whatever. Could she have been a nasty racist person? Yeah, maybe. Those people exist. But in an organization the size of Starbucks, there are going to be people that have bad days, and there are even going to be nasty racist people who, you know, they get through the interview process without revealing that they are gross racist people, and they get hired. Starbucks has like 250,000 employees or something crazy like that. It's like a city. You know, there's going to be a certain number of people in that organization who don't make good decisions and who are not good people. That doesn't mean that the organization as a whole is evil.
Right.
So Starbucks... Go ahead.
I was going to say, yeah, so like what... So the one person out of the 250,000, assuming, even if she is racist, that does not make Starbucks racist. That's just... It should seem obvious, but it's not to many people. Go on.
I almost feel for Starbucks. I mean, there's Starbucks in my house now. Heather is propping the... My wife just got back from the store, and she's making sure that Starbucks' stock price does not go down by making sure that she has Starbucks coffee with her. The organization is not racist at its core. They do not care. They just want you to buy coffee. They're fine with everybody. But in response to this, they're going to shut down all of their corporate-owned stores, which is, I think, about half the stores are corporate-owned instead of franchised. And they're going to put all of their employees that day that the store is closed through implicit bias training. And I can tell you, having been through a lot of HR trainings and a lot of, you know, bias trainings and harassment trainings and stuff, yes, it is important that you know those things. But these trainings are excruciating, and you don't really learn anything. You read the notes or the presentation about what's going to be in the training, and you get it. You do. Yeah. And if you don't get it, it's because you are the kind of person who either racially discriminates or is a sexual harasser or whatever. And no amount of training is going to beat that out of you. So I think the real victims here in this process are the tens of thousands of Starbucks employees who have to sit through this worthless, boring, mind-numbing training. But hey, at least they're not making coffee for the general public and they still get paid for the day. So maybe they're coming out ahead.
You have to sit there, check your brain out at the door, listen to bias training on you. They like the HR videos from the 70s.
Yeah. This is Goofus and Gallant. Goofus treats black people like they are inferior without meaning to because he is a dummy. Gallant treats everybody the same. Like, oh, Lord, this is so horrible. I mean, it's the kind of training where they tell you stuff that you already know and they don't really give you any new tools or methods to handle any implicit biases that you might have been raised with or something. Like, you know, maybe your parents were in the KKK, so they just hammered into you when you were a kid that Jews were evil, so you've had to work real hard to not treat Jews badly. This training, I will be shocked if this training has the kind of tools or methods necessary to actually equip people to help in that cause. This isn't going to be a corporate checkbox thing.
It's a really good point. Like, I wonder in the history of HR training videos, has anyone ever stood up with that look of epiphany on their face? It was like, whoa, this is brand new information. You really?
I'm in charge of training at my work, and so I don't do a lot of the HR training, but I help out. Like if somebody's not available or whatever, and they need that human resources kind of training, I can lead sessions of that. And having done it, I can tell you that it's... You can do your best to teach it to people, but nobody is ever going to be like, hallelujah, you're right, women can wear pants. I can't believe I didn't believe that before. That's never happened one time in the history of mankind.
So you're saying I can't grab asses? What?
Nothing says good job like a firm, open palm slap on the behind. Nobody has ever come to the conclusion that is wrong from an HR video.
I hope to God they give him a test at the end where it's like true or false. Black people should not be in Starbucks as customers. False. Good job.
No, it's gonna be one of those. The test, if there is one, will be one of those that makes you feel like you're a racist, even if you're not. Where it's going to be like a long paragraph that you read, be like, Timmy had his bicycle stolen out of the garage because he left the garage door open one night, and his mother was really upset at him. And later, Timmy found that his neighbor had the bicycle. What color is Timmy's neighbor? And there's just going to be 2 boxes that you can check on the Scantron. There's going to be white or black. And you're going to be like, well, I don't know. I wasn't given enough information. And if you choose either of them, you're going to be like, you racist son of a bitch! You were supposed to write none of the above on this Scantron. Instead of picking one of the 2 options, you were supposed to tear up the paper and throw it up in the air and declare how unfair it was. To even ask such a thing. Like, well, damn it, I didn't know that was an option.
I would have said, I mean, Timmy's a white boy name. I mean...
Oh, for sure.
But still...
a white guy. Well, yeah. I have my neighbor on one side. Every time I talk about neighbors, I always use the word Tim, because my neighbor's name is Tim. And the guy... me and Tim are... Let's see, our 2 families are white. The family on the other side of us is black. Across the street is... Basically, it's about a 50-50 neighborhood, about half black and half white. I don't even know. Yeah, why I brought that. Oh, I forgot what we were talking about for a second. I was like, why? I forgot what we were talking about. I was like, why the hell am I talking about black neighbors? And I'm like, oh no, now I remember, because my neighbor's name is Tim, and Tim's neighbor is black. That's why it makes sense.
Ah, okay. I was gonna say, like, your black neighbor Tim is black. I'd been like,
no.
Wait, what?
Tim's a white guy, but the guy next to Tim is black, and the guy across the street is black. So neighbor's name is Tim, and Tim's neighbors are black. So it fits with the scenario that I laid out. And I was just like, what the hell is happening? My brain completely blanked out on me while I was rambling. That was ridiculous.
That's okay, man.
That's the kind of stuff I would edit out if I cared enough to edit the show, which I probably won't. Anyway, whatever.
Well, you know, I would say people have to understand, not that they would care, but, you know, we do this show on a Thursday after work.
Oh, yeah.
That's when people are usually, you know, going to Thirsty Thursdays and knocking 8 back, which, you know, sometimes we do. Yeah, but we're also trying to be coherent and somewhat intelligent.
It's one of the big reasons why we drink so much on the show, is because instead of going and hanging out with the boys after work, we are hanging out with the boys that we would be hanging out with if we didn't live 600 miles apart.
Right. Exactly.
Hey, whatever. You know what? We've talked about news and politics enough for the entire lifetime of this show, almost. But definitely for tonight. So now we have Avengers Infinity War is coming out next week.
Yes.
About a week from now. I am super pumped because I am a huge nerd boy who I definitely do not have Marvel fatigue. I love these Marvel movies. I always go see them on opening weekend. I don't think any of them are bad. Even the ones that weren't the greatest were not bad. So, in celebration of Infinity War coming out, we're going to do a quick rundown of every single one of these Marvel movies. And holy cow, there's a lot of them. So it all started out with our good friend Robert Downey Jr., friend of the show, Robert Downey Jr.
Totally.
In Iron Man in 2008, the first Iron Man movie. And, man, that still stands out as one of my favorites of the whole series. I thought Iron Man was great. The banter he had with the soldiers in the beginning. It laid the groundwork for how these movies were going to work. Some of the later ones that were a little too formulaic were that way just because Iron Man as a film was so strong that they emulated it too much. It was like, well, we're going to do origin story and then conflict, and then it turns out that the central conflict is actually against a different person that you didn't expect, and that person turns out to be a Black Mirror image of the protagonist. Mm-hmm. That's basically what Iron Man was. But they were the first ones in the Marvel series that did it, and I think they did it best. At that point, Obadiah Stane was a pretty cool villain. Really well acted. Robert Downey Jr. is fantastic. Just loved everything about that movie. Like seeing him not know how to fly the Iron Man suit. And
I remember that.
That was really cool. He fell on his awesome car and smashed it. That was really fun. The next one after that was The Incredible Hulk, not the Ang Lee abomination.
I was gonna say which one, because I remember both of them, and one was garbage.
This is the one with Ed Norton as Bruce Banner / the Hulk, and Liv Tyler as Betty Ross. And yeah, you have the look on your face like you don't remember, and that's probably because it is easily the worst of all the Marvel films. By far the worst.
I remember, because Ed Norton was in the good one, and then the bad one, I can't even remember the guy that was in it, but the chick, I can't think of her name, but she was in A Beautiful Mind.
Yeah.
Not that it matters, because it was terrible.
Yeah, that was the one that was directed by Ang Lee, who is actually a genius director who made a terrible, terrible comic book movie, because he's just is not a comic book movie director, apparently.
Right.
The Incredible Hulk was the reboot of that one. It just wasn't very good either. Now, some of the action scenes were super cool. When the Hulk was smashing stuff, it was pretty cool. And when the little dude, Emil Blonsky, was the bad guy who eventually turned into the Abomination for the Hulk to fight at the end, those scenes were pretty neat and kind of laid the framework for Captain America, because he gave himself this super soldier serum so that he could fight with the Hulk, and then he got addicted to that power and eventually turned himself into a monster. It was a neat concept, and it just didn't work out that great. And they eventually recast the Hulk with Mark Ruffalo, who is... I like Edward Norton in a lot of his roles, but I don't think he made a very good superhero. I think Mark Ruffalo is infinitely superior in that role.
Yep. Agreed.
So that was kind of forgettable. The next one was Iron Man 2. And since we love politics on this show so much, we should touch on Iron Man 2 is easily the most political of these movies. If you're a conservative, or if you're curious about classical conservative principles, you've probably heard of Atlas Shrugged, the Ayn Rand book. If you can't get through Atlas Shrugged, and you probably can't because it's incredibly dry and difficult to read, and it is a slog getting through this thing. I read it for a modern literature class, and oh man, it is a tough read. It's not a compelling narrative. It's a capitalist philosophy book that kind of lays the framework for objectivism disguised as a narrative, essentially. Well, if you can't get through Atlas Shrugged, just watch Iron Man 2 instead. It's the same story.
That's a good point.
It's the exact same story. It's a rich billionaire who invents something really, really cool, and the government wants to take it away from him because they think they can make better use of it than he can. And then he's like, no, screw you, government. I want to keep my own thing because it's my own intellectual property, and I'm the only one that has rights to it. Which was the basis of Atlas Shrugged, and also the basis of the far, far superior Iron Man 2.
Yeah. But he did find that new element in Iron Man 2, which... So it was Atlas Shrugged plus awesomeness. So
he
even if you're not politically minded,
discovered a new element because I guess his arc reactor, the core was made of polonium, and somehow the polonium was leaking into his chest cavity out of the reactor and poisoning him. Which you definitely don't want that, because polonium is a rare earth metal, and if you get that in your blood, it most certainly will kill you. It'll give you symptoms similar to mercury poisoning on a kind of a broader scale, and you don't want that. It'll poison your blood and kill you. So when he invented a new element to replace that using a bunch of books and crap in his basement that he propped up, and Captain America's shield to align a laser. A laser that had to have been aligned within like a micron, surely. And he's just like propping it up on bookcases and wedging shit in there. That was a pretty great scene. And they accidentally sliced a lot of his house in half, moving the laser around. Instead of just turning it on once it was pointed in the right direction, he just turned it on and then turned it 90 degrees through the house and tore it all up. It must be cool being a billionaire when you can just break all your shit.
No doubt.
Just for funsies. Let's see, next was Thor from 2011. The introduction of the mighty, mighty Hemsworth. Holy cow, is that guy ever chiseled. He is just carved out of stone. What a beautiful man.
Yeah.
I thought Thor was pretty good. The whole Natalie Portman love interest story did not need to be there. Natalie Portman's great and everything, But that's probably the worst example of tacked on love interest in the Marvel franchise.
Yeah, luckily just the character Hemsworth played of Thor, and just the overall movie in general was well compensated and made up for the terrible romance plot of Portman and Hemsworth. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I thought it was fun. It was the first appearance of Hawkeye.
Yeah.
Hawkeye was guarding, or was part of the S.H.I.E.L.D. team guarding the hammer that Thor had to get back. It was a lot of fun. Had the first appearance of Sif and the Warriors 3, who were pretty fun characters. And overall it was just a great time. One of the highlights to me was, what's her name? Is that Kat Dennings, the girl from Two Broke Girls?
Oh, yeah.
The brunette one. She was like Natalie Portman's intern, and she couldn't pronounce the hammer Mjolnir. She couldn't pronounce it, so she called it Meow Meow. And every time she'd call it Meow Meow, I would laugh. I thought that was the funniest thing. I'm easy to please, folks. But when the hammer's flying around, she's like, "Oh, it's Meow Meow." That was the funniest damn thing. Oh, I'm a nerd. See, after that was Logan's favorite, Captain America: The First Avenger. Set back in World War II, they make a super soldier out of Steve Rogers, Chris Evans. And then the scientist who came up with the idea gets murdered, so they can't make any more. They figure, well, we only got one of them, so we're going to use him as a propaganda tool to sell war bonds. And that's kind of the first half of the movie is Captain America is traveling around the States, raising money and public support for the war, and you can see how disappointed he is in having to do it, and wished he had been out there with his buddies on the front lines actually contributing more. And then the second half of the movie, he gets his chance and hooks up with the Howling Commandos and starts beating up on... we can't use Nazis in these movies because that's a whole lot of really terrible undertones that you don't want to get into in these more lighthearted movies with Nazis. So anytime there's one of these comic booky movies that involves World War II, there's always going to be some offshoots of the German army. Like in Hellboy, there was offshoots of the German army that only dealt with the occult. Well, here in Captain America, there was Hydra, which was an offshoot of the Nazi army that dealt with the super technology. And, then they had the Tesseract, which is one of the Infinity Stones locked up inside a cube. They were fighting over. And eventually it fell into the ocean, and Captain America fell into the ocean.
That one I wasn't crazy about, except... the female lead, Haley Atwell, I think her name is.
She was good.
I like her because she's hot, and well, she reminds me of my wife, so that's why I think she's hot. So
she's Agent Carter.
Yes.
Yeah, I've never really kept up with the Marvel ABC TV. I haven't really watched Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. or Agent Carter.
I haven't either.
I like the Marvel Netflix stuff. I would love if Luke Cage would just make a surprise appearance in Infinity War. I'd be all about that.
That'd be cool.
Luke Cage is friggin' cool. Daredevil's super cool. Let's see. Next after that was Marvel's Avengers, where Loki is going to help he's going to steal the Tesseract on behalf of Thanos, the big bad from this new Marvel movie. Makes his first appearance here. Loki's going to come and steal this Tesseract for him, and in exchange he gets to tear up the Earth with this borrowed alien army because he's super pissed at the Earth for defeating him. And he's super pissed at Thor also. The Avengers was basically a giant fireworks display that Marvel threw for itself as a celebration of getting through Phase 1 and making everyone love it. It made like $1 bajillion. It made all of the money in 2012 when it came out, and it was good. It was a lot of fun. It's just, you know what's going to happen. As soon as the Hulk agrees to be on the team, you know that the movie is essentially over because they have Thor, who is a god, and Hulk, who is essentially a god. And they're like, well, what are you going to do? Like, we win. It's all a matter of how much stuff gets broken in the interim now.
Right.
Let's see, we follow that up with Marvel's Phase 2. We get into Iron Man 3, which was not as good as the other two Iron Man movies, But hit on some interesting themes, like Tony Stark was traumatized from his role in the Avengers. Like he had to fly into outer space with that nuclear missile at the end, so that New York didn't get blown up by a nuclear bomb.
All right.
And he almost died, and so now he's got like severe PTSD throughout Iron Man 3, and he's having to learn how to cope with that, and exploring his relationship with Pepper Potts, Gwyneth Paltrow, minus the gross vagina eggs that she sells.
Wait, what?
Oh, you've never heard that with Gwyneth Paltrow? She has this company where she sells like homeopathic medicines, and one of the products they sell is called a vagina stone, where it's just like this porous piece of like jade that you're supposed to ram into your coochie, and
to the Google.
It's supposed to suck toxins out of your body via the old baby maker. But instead, all it does is give women horrible, horrible infections because it's a rock that you put inside your vagina. Please, please, please don't do that.
Oh man, yeah, I gotta. All right, I'm not gonna throw you off, because but oh dear God, why?
I hope you didn't.
What the hell am
I hope
I
you
looking
didn't
at?
image search that.
Oh, I call it a goop. That's just
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, I wanted you to discover the company name for yourself.
I could have gone the rest of my life without. Oh, here's a link. Why men struggle with intimacy. Don't click on it, Josh. Just don't.
Why men struggle with intimacy? Because your vagina's full of rocks. It's hard to get intimate with you if your lady pits are full of rocks.
Oh man, the Q&A is great. Can the egg get stuck or lost?
Yes. Yes, it can.
Oh, okay. All right. I gotta get back on track. I gotta get off this. All right. This did not happen. I did not see this.
You didn't see anything. Oh my good lord. Anyway, after Iron Man 3 came Thor: The Dark World, the sequel to Thor. It was not good, folks. I just don't know what else to say about the movie. It was pretty forgettable. It did have some more fun meow meow scenes with Kat Dennings. I thought Kat Dennings was very funny. Meow meow. It had some really visually interesting fight scenes. Because I guess the whole premise was that because of some MacGuffin, the 9 realms or the 9 dimensions of reality are starting to collapse onto each other. And so you could just be standing in one place and accidentally walk through a portal and then be on Thor's world of Asgard. And then walk through another portal on accident and be on Niflheim or any of the other realms from Norse mythology. They were all collapsing down together. And in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, all the realms of Norse mythology are planets that are linked up by this series of dimensional gateways. Like, they're real planets that you could travel to on a spaceship, but the easier way would be to travel through these dimensional shortcut gateways. Otherwise it would take like months and months and months, even for the fastest spaceships, to get there. Well, they were all accidentally transitioning through these gateways and collapsing onto each other. So they had these really cool fight scenes where, you know, you'd punch a guy and he would fly through 2 other dimensions and land on another planet. And Thor would throw his hammer, and one of his powers is that the hammer always comes back to him. Like, he can summon it back to his hand. Well, it would fly up into space because he was on a different planet now, and then it would have to turn around and come back. And you know, there's a lot of pretty cool sight gags and really interesting choreography, but the story just wasn't that strong. Next was Captain America: The Winter Soldier, which was the first appearance of Bucky as the Winter Soldier. Well, it wasn't the first appearance of Bucky. Bucky was Bucky was Captain America's buddy back in World War II, who fell to his supposed death when they were ziplining onto a train. Extreme! Like, it looked like a Mountain Dew commercial. They were ziplining onto a train in the snowy mountains. But yeah, it turns out Bucky didn't really die. He was psychologically reprogrammed by the Russians to be what they called the Winter Soldier with a cybernetic arm. And they brought the Winter Soldier back out of cryogenic freeze to go and kill Captain America. And ridiculousness ensues. through the course of the Winter Soldier, it's revealed that Hydra has infiltrated. Hydra has infiltrated S.H.I.E.L.D. and is like basically taking it over from the inside. And Captain America has to dismantle Hydra before they use their series of super weapons to kill all the good guys. So, this was one of the stronger movies. It was a lot of fun. The fight scenes were super awesome. This was the Black Widow at her best, like getting to do the political spy intrigue stuff, and also the cool flipping around in fight scenes and things that Scarlett Johansson does so well. This movie was just a ton of fun.
Yeah, I thought cinematically, I don't. It's funny because I don't remember a lot of the plot line, with Hydra and everything. But I remember the combat was pretty awesome. They did really well, and Black Widow was
it was super cool. And,
always a winner.
Bucky, the Winter Soldier, probably would not have as much luck being a super assassin if people shot him somewhere other than his metal arm. Like if they shoot him in the damn leg instead. He probably wouldn't be so good. Because like Captain America blocks bullets with his shield. It's a big freaking shield. It looks like it's about 40 to 45 inches across. About 3 to 3.5 feet. Well, Buggy's just got his damn arm. And people shoot at him and he just blocks it with his arm. He like does a bicep curl. He's like, ping, 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 he can't hit me. Well, folks, I'm no bodybuilder, but thanks to my fat, I do have a decent sized bicep, with all the meat wrapped around it. I feel like even if my arm was invincible, you could still shoot me and kill me pretty damn easily. Just quit shooting him in the arm. Okay.
He's got a shield that only protects 10% of him. This is it's the Star.
It's not like he's curling up into the fetal position and hiding behind his arm. He's just kind of turning to the side, like you'll never get me. Too bad I don't have a metal face.
Yeah.
And you couldn't shoot me in the face. Let's see, the next one after that was Guardians of the Galaxy, and Guardians of the Galaxy was an absolute blast with
I loved it.
The super cool soundtrack, a really interesting ensemble cast with like Dave Bautista and Zoe Saldana.
What's her face from Doctor Who?
Yeah, Chris Pratt as Star-Lord. Vin Diesel's second best performance of his career as Groot. The best performance of his career, of course, was as the Iron Giant. He was amazing as the Iron Giant. Anytime he actually has to appear on camera, not as good acting-wise. But his voice talents were just incredible. He was really great. And the movie was just super fun from beginning to end. Could not have loved it more.
Yep.
Then we followed that up with Ant-Man. A lot of people didn't like Ant-Man that much. I liked it a lot. Thought it was really funny. I think Paul Rudd's just hilarious and charming.
It's the only one I didn't see.
Yeah, it had Paul Rudd and Evangeline Lilly as the daughter of the scientist who invented the shrinking suit that Ant-Man was using. And the rundown is basically he is a thief who just gets out of prison and wants to go straight so that he can be part of his daughter's life. And he can't, so he takes this job robbing a place, and the place he robs ends up being Hank Pym's house. Hank Pym's a scientist who invented this suit that made him the Ant-Man back during the Cold War. And the Ant-Man suit allows you to shrink down to the size of an ant and allows you to talk to ants and control them. So he swipes that suit, and of course Hank Pym knows that he swiped the suit because he's got super Marvel security or whatever. And then he basically blackmails the thief, says, if you don't want to go back to jail for swiping my suit, you can work for me now and do superhero-y stuff and stop my company that got taken over by a generic bad guy from doing generic bad guy stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, it was fun. It had lots of interesting scenes, like you can shrink stuff, and
there's shrinkage!
Yeah, you shrink little stuff and you bring it back to normal size with these other devices, and you shrink down to the size of an ant, but you still have the strength of a full-size man, so now you're punching with the surface area of like a pinhead, and it gives you proportionate super strength. There's lots of interesting stuff.
Yeah, cool.
Allows for a lot of cool visual things. Then after that was Captain America: Civil War, which probably stands as the best of the Marvel movies. Civil War was super awesome. I could easily just watch the airport fight scene on a loop for about an hour. It was so fun. The first appearance of Spider-Man back in the traditional MCU, and Tom Holland is so good as Spider-Man. As awkward Peter Parker, but also as Spider-Man, the wisecracking high school hero. He's just really charming, really great. Absolutely loved everything about this movie. The plot hinged a little bit too much on the classic movie thing where, the bad guy got captured on purpose, and I made this thing happen. I knew that these 12 government agencies were going to cooperate and react in exactly this way. That's why I allowed myself to blah blah. Yeah, it's pretty unbelievable and convoluted, but you see it in every single modern action movie. So you almost have to forgive it because it ain't going away.
Right.
But yeah, it was just an absolute blast. Really left some serious question marks on the relationships between these characters. The relationships were starting to get a little bit stale after a while. After Age of Ultron, everybody's buddies again, even though Tony Stark did this pretty crappy thing.
Yeah.
Well, now they're getting back to the point where they're not friends anymore. Like, you can see the cracks that started in Age of Ultron that they never really did enough with really start to fracture. Now, to be fair, there was only one movie in between Age of Ultron and Civil War, and that was Ant-Man. So it's not like all these other characters really appeared. But Age of Ultron wasn't executed super well, and Civil War definitely was. So to see that character development carried out in a better way, I think was a lot more satisfying. Then after that, we got Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange will always have a special place in my heart because I was at the Hollywood premiere with my wife.
Oh, yeah.
Got to take her down the red carpet. We saw it in 3D at El Capitan right there on the Hollywood Walk of Fame.
Nice.
Super amazing experience, something I'll never be able to repeat. And I just thought the movie was a lot of fun. Everybody was afraid that magic in the Marvel Universe wasn't going to work because everything's based on technology. Everything's real. Even like the Norse gods, they're just technologically advanced. They're not actually gods. Well, no, they're not. And these magic users aren't actually magic. They're able to manipulate the fundamental forces of the universe through, artifacts and techniques, and people call it magic because they don't understand it. And I thought that was as good an explanation about magic as you're going to get in a, like a more slightly grounded kind of universe here.
Yeah. I know for most people that Doctor Strange is probably the one of the more least favorites. It's closer to the top for me just because I think because it was so different, because I think it was a little bit more cerebral, and because it was the whole thing was just different than just the technology. And Benedict Cumberbatch was just friggin' amazing, I thought.
Yeah, Cumberbatch
I loved it.
He's so charming and just easy to watch. You could watch him all day. I've seen him in documentaries, I've seen him in serious stuff, I've seen him in comic book movies, and he just almost can do no wrong. He's a captivating screen presence. And all the other parts were really well acted as well. I think it probably had one of the best balances of comic relief with serious stuff. Like, sometimes the Marvel movies can kind of take the comic relief too far, which is okay in movies like Thor Ragnarok, which we'll get to in a minute, which are supposed to be really funny. But sometimes the movies that are supposed to have more of a serious tone dip too much into the comic relief, trying to be all things to all people. I think this one had one of the best balances. Then after that was Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. And if this is taking a long time, folks, that's just an indicator of how many Marvel movies there are. Holy cow, there's a lot of them. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 was when Kurt Russell is actually the international or the interstellar pimp daddy who goes and impregnates a whole bunch of women on a whole bunch of different planets, and then has his offspring come back to his planet, and spoiler alert, he is the planet. And his physical body that he used to bang your mom and make you was actually just a projection of his will or something. But anyway, Chris Pratt, the Star-Lord, is actually the child of a planet, and he gets lured back to the planet to be used for nefarious purposes, and all kinds of really interesting sight gags and soundtrack songs ensue. There were some great moments in this movie. There was Yondu was really, really fun. Groot, as always, is incredibly satisfying to watch. Rocket Raccoon is super fun. It wasn't as strong as the first one, but that's a very high bar to set. I don't think you can expect all these movies to be as fun and recapture the magic as well as Guardians of the Galaxy did with the first one. I thought this was a perfectly serviceable movie, and I liked it a lot.
Yeah, I really hated the plot because it's basically Mormonism with a lot of special effects, but honestly, with that cast and just the antics and stuff, they could recreate like Bridges of Madison County, and I would watch it and probably be entertained. So
yeah, there were some serious John Smithian overtones. Yeah, this was the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Space Travelers. Let's see.
Wait, hold on.
I had something for this.
I lost it.
Yeah, it'll come back.
Yeah.
Tweet it later. @Hoonerific.
There you go.
Next after that was Spider-Man: Homecoming, Tom Holland's standalone movie, and it just showed that the clout that Disney has is incredible. They were able to make a deal with Sony Pictures and take their most profitable intellectual property and say, look, you guys suck at making Spider-Man movies so bad lately. Those last two Amazing Spider-Man movies were abysmal, and everybody hated them. So why don't you let us take creative control? We'll make a deal on the distribution rights. You can retain ownership, and in exchange, we get to use Spider-Man in our movies also and roll him back into the MCU. And I'm hoping now that Disney is well into acquiring Fox that they'll do something similar with the X-Men and Fantastic Four franchises. Kind of bring them back into the fold.
Yeah.
It's, a Phase 8 movie in 2027 that has like Avengers versus X-Men, which was a really fun, really cool comic book storyline. We have something like that.
That'd be cool.
The Infinity War in the comics, they had everybody in it. Like, there are, hundreds of characters in Infinity War. Because it had the X-Men, it had the Avengers, it had the Defenders, it had the Fantastic Four, it had the West Coast Avengers, which is probably a concept we'll be seeing within the next few years, and everybody. Let's see, after Spider-Man: Homecoming, which was, I thought, really fun, was Thor: Ragnarok. That was probably my personal favorite. I don't think it's the best Marvel movie. I think it's my favorite one, though. It's just so funny. Hilariously funny. Taika Waititi can direct anything now, and I will watch it for the rest of time, as long as he has at least a small role in it himself, because he's so funny. And that Kiwi accent is so charming. It makes me laugh. He could read the phone book, and I would laugh at it. As the greatest thing I've ever seen. Yeah, I can't recommend that one enough. If you haven't seen it yet, definitely check it out. And then the very latest Marvel movie, the last one to come out before Infinity War, was Black Panther. We talked about Black Panther on the show a little bit a few weeks ago. We don't want to spoil it because it's still in theaters. You might not have seen it yet. But the long and short of it is, if you like Marvel movies, you're going to love it. If you like action movies, you're going to love it. If you don't like either of those things, you're probably boring, and you might not like it as much. But if any part of the genre is appealing to you, like if you just like any kind of action movies, you're going to like this movie. It's got really great interactions between the Black Panther and the supporting cast. Chadwick Boseman is super charming. Michael E. Jordan as the villain, the Killmonger. He might be the strongest Marvel villain we've had, at least the strongest one in many, many years. Probably the best one since Loki, definitely. He's really fun to watch and just chews up the screen with his presence. And Yeah, it's at its core, it's a film about competing political ideologies. Wakanda, the fictional country where the Black Panther is from, is very, very technologically advanced.
Or is it fictional?
Ooh, maybe it's not. Because they use that incredible technology to hide from the rest of the world so that they can keep their culture pure and they don't have to worry about people invading them trying to steal their amazing technology and their resources. And what the Killmonger wants to do is to use that incredible technology instead of to hide from the world. He wants to subjugate the world and force them to accept black people, essentially, because he's seen the effects of centuries of slavery and subjugation against Africans, and says, turns out the most powerful country in the world is in Africa. We shouldn't be allowing this, and we should get back at these other cultures for doing this to us. And then after we have subjugated them, we'll be able to show them a better way, and we'll be like their benevolent rulers or whatever. And Black Panther says, no, we don't want to attack anybody. We don't want to take over the world. That's the wrong way to use our technology. It becomes a really interesting argument about political ideology. So yeah, you should definitely check it out.
So in this list, your favorite and your least favorite, what would it be?
Least favorite has to be The Incredible Hulk. There's a reason they recast the Hulk, who is such an important character. Just because that movie was not very strong. It was better than the Ang Lee version. It was not very good. The best one was probably Civil War, but my personal favorite was Thor Ragnarok. I could just watch it over and over again.
Cool.
How about yourself?
That's hard. Definitely least favorite would be Incredible Hulk. From what I remember of it, I just didn't like it. That, and I'm mixing it up with the other terrible version, so by default, it's got to be that one. My favorite, wow, we're actually pretty much the same. Because I would say the most entertaining, like as far as just overall good movie, definitely Civil War. But Thor Ragnarok, I just watched it just 2 weeks ago, and man, I left. I mean, as far as just walking away happy and all around just good fun, that one was great. But then again, Guardians has a special spot in my heart too. So definitely those would be the top three. It's hard to choose. Guardians
is amazing. I can't take anything away from it. But just the character of Korg puts Thor Ragnarok over the top. Thor, you want to fight with a wooden fork? I suppose it's not all that useful unless you're fighting three vampires who are huddled close together. Pass off, Ghost!
Pass off, Ghost!
That is still my notification tone on my phone. If you text Ken Bone, then Ken Bone gets to hear, pass off, Ghost!
That's a great one. Just some of the lines in it was great that you just weren't expecting, like Thor being like, yeah, Loki one time turned into a snake and he knows I admire snakes, so I picked it up to admire it, and he was like, haha, it's me, and then he stabbed me.
Yeah.
What?
I thought that was a great. It's like, I'm a big comedy nerd, so when I watch stand-ups and stuff, I'll just laugh and be in the moment, but then afterwards I'll really think about how do you construct your set and stuff. And I'll watch comedies and I'll enjoy them in the moment, but then after that I'll kind of deconstruct them and be like, the timing on this was so brilliant and this was brilliant. And that was one of those where I think is a really great, you could use it in a comedy class and be like, well, I see you subvert the expectations because you say, Loki has the ability to transform, and he's a snake, and then your first switch or your first twist is Thor actually likes snakes as a kid. He thinks snakes are cool instead of being afraid of them. So he picks it up to admire the snake, and then you're, of course, led to believe that, the snake is going to bite Thor now. But no, it doesn't bite Thor because it's actually Loki. He turns back into Loki, and then you're like, now they're going to have a laugh, and they're going to be mad, and they're going to fight. But then you switch your expectations a third time because, and then he stabbed me. Which is such a great, it's such a great deadpan ending to the bit.
Yeah.
The triple twist. It's a great comedy setup. I just love that kind of stuff. Love talking to comics about comedy, and that definitely was a joke writer's joke. That one, that one was brilliant.
There's so many good moments in there like that too, but yeah, that one took the cake.
Yeah, absolutely love it. Cannot recommend it enough. Definitely go see Infinity War if you get the chance. If you're into it. If you're not into these movies, I can't imagine you listened to the last 45 minutes. You probably switched it off, hoping that we would talk more about politics. We'll close out the show with a couple of goodbyes. Unfortunately, we lost a few great people this last week. We lost, among others, we lost Harry Anderson, who was brilliant as Judge Harold T. Stone from Night Court.
Night Court, yeah.
One of my favorite shows growing up. He just passed away. He was very young, too young to be dying. We lost R. Lee Ermey, the gunny. You probably know him best as the drill instructor from Full Metal Jacket. But he's also done a lot of other television and film work as like the Marine Corps stereotypical older Marine, basically. But he was brilliant in every role. Proud public servant and retired Marine. Hoorah for the gunny. If you served in the Marine Corps, I hope you're not offended. I'm not trying to co-opt any of your honor. I just want to shout one out to somebody I really admired. And First Lady and First Mother Barbara Bush also passed away. Very unfortunate. By all accounts, she was a fantastic human being. Back during a time when the AIDS epidemic was at its height and the AIDS scare was at its height, like people didn't generally know what caused AIDS. It wasn't really communicated that well yet. And people thought, like, all these AIDS babies, you can get AIDS from these AIDS babies. Nobody wants to touch them. She actually traveled to some orphanages and made a point of picking up the AIDS-afflicted babies and carrying them around and showing, like, look, I'm not afraid I'm going to get AIDS from an infant. These little babies deserve love. She did a lot for literacy programs. There's a lot of great things. She did a lot of great work as First Lady and also before and after she was First Lady. Great family person, a very strong human being who lost a daughter to cancer at age 4, her little girl Robin. And so we're hoping and praying right now that she is with Robin and she's experiencing that bond that she never got to have during Robin's time on Earth. Barbara Bush passing away, very sad. But goodbye to Mrs. Bush and to the gunny and to Mr. Anderson and to all the others we lost. We really appreciate you listening and having a good time with the movies with us, honoring some of the folks we've lost, talking about the news. We'll be back again next week doing much the same thing or something completely different. What the hell do we care? We don't have any shareholders to please. But for now, on behalf of my good friend Josh Burkett, I am Ken Bone. I bid you a good day. I approve this sweater.